Salt-sweet air blew across the docks of Gull Harbor, Maine, mingling with an even more intoxicating smell, chocolate, butter, and sugar bubbling to softball stage in every kettle within shouting distance. It was the first Saturday of June, and that meant only one thing: Fudge-a-palooza, the town's proudest tradition since cod fishing went bust. Striped awnings lined Harbor Green, shading folding tables laden with sample cups. Children darted between booths, clutching souvenir wooden spoons while gulls wheeled overhead, hoping for dropped crumbs. Hattie Brooks, 67, retired reference librarian and invincible Tuesday night trivia champion at the Sand Bar pub, adjusted the wide-brimmed sun hat that shielded her silver bob. She had volunteered as a runner, assigned to carry numbered tasting trays from the contestant stations to the judging dais at the gazebo. Official runners wore robin egg pool aprons that read, "Keep calm and fudge on." Hattie rather liked the motto. Calm would be at a premium today. The coastal forecast promised temperatures in the low 80s, practically sweltering for down east, and 5 judges had to taste 32 varieties of fudge before lunchtime. "Tray 3, Ms. Brooks," called Maisie Pike, a high school junior, whose freckles had bloomed like constellations since last year's festival. Hattie accepted the lacquered platter, 6 porcelain ramekins filled with squares of salty maple pecan dream. Gavin Moore, the new owner of Secrest Inn, smiled nervously as Hattie passed. The poor fellow had joined the Chamber of Commerce only last month. Winning Best in Show would be grand advertising for his fledgling B&B. Hattie weaved through the milling crowds, minding errant stroller wheels. At the gazebo, she slid the tray onto a linen-covered table, where 5 judges sat in ascending order of seniority: Town Clerk Doris Mank, Police Chief Owen Shaw, local food blogger Chantal Bouleux, Select Board Member and Mayoral Hopeful Bert Upton, and Head Judge Adelaide "Addie" Barnes. Retired pastry chef, octogenarian, and undisputed queen of confections. From Kittery to Bar Harbor, Addie's white hair was bundled in a chignon as precise as a ballerina's bun. Hattie suspected she measured eggs by the Pythagorean theorem. "Thank you, Hattie," Addie said, peering over gold half-moon glasses. She made a notation on a clipboard already smudged with chocolate fingerprints. The judges sampled dutifully, swishing water between bites like sommeliers. Hattie was halfway back to the contestant tents when a commotion erupted behind her. A metal chair scraped, followed by a gasp. Then Chief Shaw's baritone shout. She turned in time to see Addie Barnes clutch her throat, eyes bulging. The clipboard clattered. In 3 strides, Bert Upton had caught her before she slid off the chair. For one terrifying moment, the hush on Harbor Green was absolute, interrupted only by the cry of a gull and the thud of Addie's silver tasting spoon hitting the floorboards. "All EMS!" someone yelled. Chief Shaw already had his phone out. Hattie hurried up the gazebo steps, heart thundering like surf in a nor'easter. Addie wheezed, face flushed beet red. Chantal Bewley fanned her with a menu, while Doris Mank unscrewed a water bottle and tried to tilt it toward the stricken woman's lips. Addie pushed it away and managed to croak, "Burning. My throat? Hot? Pepper?" Chief Shaw leaned close. "Did you swallow something spicy?" Addie nodded vigorously. Her other hand gripped the lapel of Owen Shaw's uniform like a bulldog. The chief turned to Hattie, who had knelt beside them. "Go inform folks that the judges are taking a brief break. Nobody eats or serves anything until I say so. Understood?" Hattie rose, pushing off her arthritic knees. In the next 10 minutes, festival volunteers shepherded visitors toward the marina boardwalk, away from Harbor Green. EMTs arrived and loaded Addie onto a stretcher, oxygen mask in place. She was conscious, but unable to speak. The remaining judges, pale and shaken, followed at a distance for medical evaluation. By 11 a.m., gulls had reclaimed the gazebo roof. Fudge-a-palooza, highlight of Gull Harbor's tourist calendar, sat in suspended animation. Hattie found the police chief standing near the registration booth, notebook in hand. He looked 10 years older than his actual 52. Hattie had watched Owen Shaw grow from a scabby-kneed little leaguer to town's top cop. He'd been a favorite patron of the children's section back when she ran it. "Chief," she greeted, voice low. "Any word?" He exhaled. "Addie's stable. Addie's stable. Addie's stable powder got into her last sample. Her throat swelled. Could have been fatal. Accident." "Might have been," he said, though his frown suggested otherwise. "But if a contestant spiked their fudge that hot, why didn't the rest of us react? We all tasted the same tray." Hattie's librarian brain sifted data. Unless the offending pepper was isolated to one ramekin Addie's. Exactly. Shaw's eyes settled on her. "Listen, Hattie, I know you signed up to tote platters, not sloof, but you've got the sharpest recall in 3 counties. I have to lock the grounds, interview contestants, track chain of custody. Could you help me reconstruct who handled what and when?" She gave a brisk nod. Trivia, skill, after all, was just another name for organized memory. The chief cordoned off the area with yellow tape borrowed from the public works truck. Visitors typed frantic texts about how Fudge Gate was ruining their Instagram stories. Meanwhile, contestants huddled beneath tents, some angry, others anxious. Hattie began her own informal inquiry. She worked aisle by aisle, ordering her observations alphabetically, old habit from decades of shelving. Contestant Station 1. Lila Carmichael, owner of Lila's Lovely Confections, perennial silver medalist, rumored to resent Addie for clinging to the head judge post. Station 2. Tobias Finch, proprietor of Finch's Candy Emporium, former gold medalist, whose business had slumped after a chain store opened in Freeport. Station 3. Gavin Morbednby, newcomer, mild-mannered, trying for local validation. Station 4. Savannah Wells 15. Home ec wunderkind pushing a ruby-red stroller containing not a baby, but her grandmother's copper pot for luck. Station 5. Marigold Thorn holistic health coach marketing keto fudge sweetened with monk fruit. There were more, of course, but those 5 had been scheduled to present before the first break, meaning their samples might have reached the judges already. Hattie scanned each station, noticing layout, equipment, and most importantly, pepper. Only to be as Finch displayed spice jars for his Aztec chili swirl entry. Yet Chief Shaw had said the offending pepper might be ghost pepper, far rarer and hotter than standard chili. Hattie chewed on the fact. Next she sought out Maisie Pike, who catalogued incoming trays. "Maisie, dear, after I delivered Gavin's maple pecan, who brought the next platter?" The girl consulted her clipboard. "Tobias Finch's Aztec chili. Runner was Mr. Driscoll, the science teacher. Then Leela Carmichael's Double Dark Decadence. Runner Patty Pappas. That was the last tray before everything stopped." Addie thanked her and jotted times in a flip notebook she kept for grocery lists and, occasionally, neighborhood gossip. She also scribbled a question mark beside Patty Pappas, the middle-aged receptionist at the dental clinic, famous for dropping things when excited. Chief Shaw rejoined her. "Lab's rushing pepper residue analysis," he said. "Addie's daughter's a pathologist in Bangor, applied some pressure. Good." Hattie tapped the notebook. "Who plated the judges' ramekins?" "Contestants prepare 6 identical ramekins on a platter, seal them with plastic film. Runners pick them up. Courier stipple. Film is peeled at the dais, right before tasting. Meaning access points are contestant, runner, or judge. Plus the tent where trays rest briefly for numbering," Shaw added. "I posted an officer there now." Hattie's mind flicked through suspect categories. Motive, means, opportunity. A competitor might hope to disqualify rivals by shutting event down. But Ghost Pepper targeted one judge rather than all, and Addie Barnes in particular decided tiebreakers. Poisoning her palate. A temporary injury, not a lethal dose, could influence results without mass harm. Devious. She asked the chief to release her for what she called parallel fact-finding. He agreed, on condition she report every discovery. Hattie strolled toward Lila Carmichael's station, where the brunette confectioner applied a blowtorch to a caramelized glaze. It hissed abruptly, torch sputtering out. Lila cursed softly. Temperamental equipment? Hattie sympathized. Propane's low. Lila forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. As if we need more drama. How well did you know Addie Barnes? Lila's spatula paused. Well enough. She gave me my first blue ribbon at 12. Lately, though, she thought my fudge was over-trended. Her word, not mine. Yet you keep entering. And keep getting edged out by Tobias Finch, Lila said, bitterness knitting her brow. Interesting pivot, Hattie thought. She thanked Lila and moved on. Tobias Finch was digesting antacids near his copper kettle. At 60 he was stout, bald except for grey tufts above the ears, spectacles fogged with steam. "Rough morning," Hattie began. "Rough year," he corrected. "Chain stores, online candy boxes, you name it." He popped another chalky tablet. "Now the festival's circling the drain." Hattie eyed a stainless steel spice rack on his prep table. Paprika, ancho, habanero, and in back an unlabeled globe jar filled with seeds and pods the color of sunsets. "Ghost peppers." "Those look lethal," she remarked. "Only a whisper goes in the batch," he said. "Chocolate tempers the burn." Odd, then, that only Addie tasted heat. Tobias's face sagged. "You think I dosed her?" He shook his head. "I'd sooner pour bleach in my own kettle." The tray was sealed. Besides, my fudge wasn't even up next. Gavin's and Lila's went first. "My apologies," Hattie said, though she banked the contradiction. Maisie said Tobias's tray followed Gavin's. Third stop. Gavin Moore nervously wiping sweat with a checkered dish towel. His platter still waited on a folding cart. Untasted due to the lockdown. Gavin looked stricken, like someone whose future Yelp reviews hung in the balance. "Mr. Moore, do you keep chili peppers in your kitchen?" He blinked. "For fudge?" "Good heavens, no. I bake scones and blueberry muffins for B&B guests. Nothing spicier than cardamom." Cardamom. Hattie stored away. She had glimpsed it earlier in Tobias's rack as well. Savannah Wells, for her part, was furious at missing geometry tutoring to stand here in purgatory. She assured Hattie that she'd used only grandma-level ingredients, nothing exotic. Her bronze kettle sparkled. Cleanliness was her badge. Marigold Thorne waved off questions about pepper with a sniff. "Spice inflames the gut biome," she declared. So far, only Tobias admitted having ghost pepper. Motive, though? Addie had once hailed him as fudge virtuoso. Sabotaging her made little sense, unless he aimed to punish her for lowering his recent scores. Lila had motive too, given years of near misses but no confirmed access to pepper. Hattie needed fresh stimuli. She walked to the shoreline, letting briny winds clear her sinuses. Gulls shrieked. Parents offered granola bars as peace bribes to cranky toddlers. Over everything hung an anxious pall. Would Fudgapalooza be cancelled for the first time in its 24-year history? Her gaze settled on the gazebo, where plastic-wrapped trays still sat on a side table. Evidence labelled by Officer Dean. 6 ramekins per tray, identical in appearance. Then it struck her. Identical, yes, but oriented differently depending on who removed the plastic wrap. Suppose someone tampered after unsealing, sprinkling pepper into only Addie's ramekin while the judges chatted. Access. Any of the 4 remaining judges. But were they suspects? Doris Mank and Bert Upton had election season ahead. Sabotaging the town's beloved matriarch would be political suicide. Chantal Beaulieu thrived on blog traffic. A near catastrophe might risk clicks. Yet she herself had risked tasting the same ramekin. Chief Shaw also tasted but remained symptomless. However, one judge might have faked tasting. Hattie pictured the sampling. Addie, meticulous, always ate from ramekin. 3 clockwise. Bert had reached randomly. Chantal photographed first, tasting last. Doris nibbled politely. Owen swigged water after each bite. Could one of them have avoided Addie's ramekin altogether? She needed video. In this century, someone would have recorded the judging. She walked towards the press pen and found local newspaper photographer Quincy Lavoie packing up. "Quincy, did you happen to film the first tasting round?" "I did live stream on the Gull Gazette Facebook page till things went sideways. May I view the clip?" They huddled over his phone. The footage showed Hattie delivering Gavin's tray, judges peeled plastic. Each took a fudge square. Addie sampled first, predictable, Bert selected diagonally across. Doris grabbed front left. Chief Shaw, seated rightmost, lifted the rearmost piece. Chantal, busy adjusting her ring light, had not yet tasted when Addie reacted. Crucial detail, between plastic removal and first bites, Chantal had rummaged in her tote, producing a monogrammed gold spoon for better aesthetics. Her other hand, Hattie noticed, hovered low above the tray, fast and subtle. Frame by frame, Hattie watched tiny dark specks fall from Chantal's fingertips into the center ramekin, the one Addie soon ate. The live stream resolution wasn't crystal clear, but the motion was there. Hattie's pulse quickened. Chantal Boulot? Motive? Motive? Bloggers thrived on drama, but attempted poisoning? Then she recalled reading an interview where Chantal lamented Addie's gatekeeping culinary legacy. Addie had refused to share original fudge recipes for Chantal's upcoming cookbook, saying integrity mattered more than media. Addie's obstruction could cost Chantal a book deal. Sprinkle ghost pepper on Addie's single portion, the festival shuts down. Addie's judgment discredited, maybe even removed next year. Problem solved. Means Chantal carried spices for photo styling. Hattie had glimpsed pastel salts and edible glitter earlier. Opportunity, her moment before tasting. Time to loop in Chief Shaw. They convened behind patrol car doors. Hattie played the video. The chief's jaw set. "We'll need to question her formally. But we also need the festival to continue," Hattie reminded him. "Town coffers rely on Fudgapalooza. If we resolve this quickly, we salvage the afternoon session." Shaw rubbed his temples. "I'll detain her discreetly, but we still need hard evidence pepper in her possession matching the residue." Hattie thought of the trivia night she'd once won by naming the Scoville heat scale of ghost peppers. 1 million units. Distinctive. She also recalled that edible glitter kits often came with miniature vials. "Search her tote," she suggested. "Look for a spice vial mislabeled as glitter." While Shaw sought a warrant, Hattie visited Addie's hospital gurney parked under a shade tree. MT's monitoring. Addie's voice was hoarse but functional. "Whoever did this had nerve," Addie rasped. "I tasted raw capsicum right away, knew something was off." Hattie squeezed her hand. "Rest. We're close." Back at the tents, chatter had shifted to conspiracy theories. Rival candy companies, environmental activists, disgruntled tourists. Hattie saw Chantal pacing, phone glued to ear. Within minutes, Chief Shaw and Officer Dean approached her. Chantal's glamorous facade cracked as Dean produced a clear plastic evidence bag containing 2 glitter vials, one filled with rose gold flakes, the other with reddish powder. A whiff made Shaw cough. "Pepper!" Chantal's protest was loud but incoherent. "I use it for garnish, artistic flourish." "Scent alone tells me this isn't gold dust," Shaw said. He read her rights. Festival goers stopped pretending not to stare. Later, in the temporary command tent, Shaw filled Hattie in. "Forensics will confirm, but initial test strip flagged high capsaicin. Motive appears tied to cookbook feud. Chantal planned only to incapacitate Addie briefly, maybe angle for sympathy coverage. Idiotic. Criminal," Hattie corrected, though relief softened her tone. "Will the festival resume?" "Yes, judges volunteer replacements. Addie insisted we proceed. She'll watch by video feed from the ambulance." When word spread that Fudgapalooza was back on, cheers rippled across Harbour Green. Runners resumed their blue apron waltz. Hattie fetched fresh trays, careful this time to keep them within her sight until delivered. Chief Shaw deputized a food safety inspector to supervise unsealing. Additional security, yes, but the festive mood rebounded like a beach ball in July. At 4 o'clock the sun angled low, scattering diamonds on Penobscot Bay. Hattie stood beside Addie's daughter's tablet, live-streaming the awards ceremony so the head judge could announce winners remotely. Her voice remained raspy, yet triumphant. And the blue ribbon goes to Salty Maple Pecan Dream by Gavin Moore. Applause crashed like breakers. Gavin shook his head, overwhelmed, and mouthed "thank you" toward the tablet camera. Addie beamed through pixels. Hattie dabbed the corner of her eye. Second place went to Savannah Wells, third to Lila Carmichael. Tobias Finch accepted honorable mention with dignity, promising his customers a comeback for the ages. As the crowd dispersed, baskets of leftover fudge exchanged hands like stock shares. Hattie finally slipped off her apron, shoulders aching pleasantly from exertion. Chief Shaw approached, cardboard coffee in hand. "For the woman who saved Fudge-a-Palooza," he said. "Team effort," Hattie replied, accepting the cup. She inhaled its nutty aroma, faintly sweet from being brewed near too many confectioners. Shaw chuckled. "Addie called you a one-woman Dewey Decimal System." "High praise," Hattie sipped. "I filed the culprit under C for KN. Thought you'd go with B for blogger." "Please, classification, like justice, has layers." They walked along the boardwalk, sunset igniting the horizon. Benders packed boxes. Gulls resumed negotiations for scraps. Tomorrow headlines would proclaim how local heroes saved the festival, and perhaps hint at a forthcoming trial for attempted assault. But tonight, Gull Harbor glowed with lamplight reflections and contentment. Hattie Brooks tilted her hat back, letting the evening breeze cool her forehead. Retirement, she mused, was busier than advertised, but infinitely more flavorful, especially in a town where mysteries melted like fudge once you applied the right amount of heat.